Let us start our discussion on assessment criteria 3.3 for brand proposition. Okay, so in this chapter, we are going to look at how to identify the characteristics of strong brands and successful brand management strategies. So we're going to continue this discussion into 3.4 and discuss branding strategies as well. So the two main areas on building strong brands is the characteristics of a strong brand. So think about strong brands. Think about brands like Taylor Swift, brand Taylor Swift. I have added a video on the brand Taylor Swift. Think about strong brands like Google, Apple. We have tech companies like Microsoft. Then we have global brands like McDonald's. And we also have a lot of car brands, service brands, and so many emerging brands. We have brands like Coca-Cola that has stood for 100 years. Brands like Disney, again, 100 years plus. So the characteristics of a strong brand, there can be an exhaustive list. But here we look at what is relevant to your syllabus. So you need to study these characteristics because you can get questions around them. And then we go into what is brand management and what to be mindful about when managing a brand. So these are some broad areas you can certainly add to this list in terms of building strong brands, the characteristics of a strong brand, right? You can even create a abbreviation here in some way to remember it, okay? Because you need to study this. So brand authenticity is one area that you need to understand. The authenticity of the brand, the genuineness, the degree to which a brand's marketing and message align with the reality of its products, values, and actions. And one brilliant case study here is this Nike case study, right? Of Colin, how he went down on one knee during the Black Lives Matter movement. And he became an instant sensation. And it was very controversial, very, very controversial, because he believed in something. And a lot of people were criticizing him, but a lot of people also praising him. But one company that really got on board and stood by the values of Colin is Nike. And it was a huge risk for Nike. And they ran this campaign, believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. And I want you to watch this campaign. I have their video, which is on Google Classroom. Please watch this. And you will understand the authentic nature, something authentic this brand is trying to do, which is to believe in something. And sometimes when you believe in something, you will sacrifice everything. An authentic brand is transparent, consistent, genuine. This word is very, very important. So are these. So you must feel the genuineness. and its communication and behavior, which helps build trust and loyalty with its customers. I remember when I was a marketing manager for American Express, we were actually given brand training, global brand training. Okay, because as the senior manager of marketing, we had to live the brand. We had to live the brand. And I remember going to our Singapore headquarters, regional headquarters, and how we were sort of brainwashed to think about the American Express brand. At that time, it was the number 14 brand in the world. In the brand finance index, it was the number 14 brand in the world. So we were trying to understand the history of this brand. Of course, there's Visa, there's Master, but Amex was a different brand. It appealed to the corporate sector. It appealed to the elite. There's something called the American Express Black Card. And there's a famous transaction that took place that someone bought a plane with the American Express Black Card because it's a card without a limit. It has no limit. You can buy anything. And that's the kind of customers you serve. Extremely premium customers. So I remember this brand was built on trust, integrity, genuineness. And the authenticity of the brand was something that I can remember was some element that was driven into our heads by our headquarters. They didn't sponsor the best sports people. They didn't sponsor the most popular sports people. They sponsored the sports people who displayed authenticity. Sometimes they would even forego a point and lose an entire tournament, a large tournament, and ensure their credibility. One instance I remember was Andy Roddick. Andy Roddick once lost a Grand Slam tennis title, but he was honest and he said the ball was out. When the referee called it in, he said no, the ball was out, and he lost the entire Grand Slam. Otherwise, he would go on to win it. And American Express went on to sponsor Andy Roddick. He was in the top 10, but he was not number 1, 2, or 3. So you can see authenticity, genuineness is something that you can build into the brand values, which means sometimes, I don't know if you've seen this, when you go to buy a product, there are some companies, if you ask them, what about this product? They will say it's good. How about this product? It's also good. How about this product? It is also good. So everything is good. So now they never, that's not authenticity. Authenticity is when you go to buy a product, someone will tell you genuinely, understand your need and say, this one, don't buy. It's not going to help fulfill your needs. There's another product that might help fulfill your needs. Or you might even sometimes go to the extent of telling the customer, look, our competitor's product will fulfill your needs better. And all of a sudden, you feel like buying from this guy because he's being honest, he's being genuine. And it is something that you will remember for the rest of your life. I went to buy a product from this company and they asked me what my requirement is. Instead of telling them that your product is the best, you recommend someone else, a competitor. Wow. Imagine the authenticity, the genuineness. Doesn't mean that you're going to lose business, but you gain so much with your authenticity and genuineness, right? So brands are built like that. Brands are built with authenticity. Brand consistency. One brand that comes into my mind when I talk about consistency is the brand Red Bull. So please watch the Red Bull history and the case study in assessment criteria 3.3. But Red Bull is one brand that is fairly consistent. I mean, at the end of the day, it is just an energy drink. It is a drink, but they own the word energy in the customer's mind. And extreme. They own the word energy and they own the word extreme. Brand consistency means ensuring that the way you present your company and what it stands for remains the same across all your marketing channels. Unifying the image, message, and message your customers and potential customers can see. And this is a great case study. 97% of their revenue comes from selling 9.2 billion cans a year. 9.2 billion cans a year. So that is more than one per person in the world, right? And if you look at how they associate themselves with the word energy and extreme, with the word energy and extreme, and how they have crafted a tagline called gives me wings. Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings. And the values and the target audience surrounding the brand. Today, they are not only a energy drink company, they are also into a music label, into Formula One and other extreme sports like NASCAR. And they have gone into record labels, music, so many kinds of businesses. But their core business is just a drink, right? And the case study, if you watch the case study, says that the Red Bull drink is not even manufactured by them; it's outsourced. I don't know if you can remember. I remember as a young, before Red Bull was born, I remember drinking Red Bull in Thailand. Red Bull is Red Bull was a Thai drink. It was in Thailand, and this Austrian goes to Thailand on vacation, and he drinks this Thai Red Bull drink, which is still there with the same logo in Thailand. And you can still buy it in glass bottles with Thai language. You go to Thailand, go to a corner shop, you see the same logo with the Thai brand name. That is the original recipe of Red Bull. So this Austrian goes there and buys the recipe from the Thai owner. And then he makes it a global brand. And the rest is history. So the consistency of the brand, of what you are projecting across and how you manage that can, at the end of the day, build your brand, and it is a very strong characteristic of a brand. Then the third one is brand clarity. The clarity of the brand means how it is positioned in the mind of the customer. The clarity of thought. Very clear message. How it is clearly positioned in the mind of the customer. Brand clarity is positioning your business to a specific audience in a way where they not only completely understand what you do and how you do it, can help them, but your messaging helps them get why they need your solution. So brand clarity, opposite of it is brand clutter. Brand clutter. Okay. So it is important that brand managers try to simplify things. Don't overwhelm your customer. Sometimes when you work with advertising agencies, sometimes there is a tendency for the advertising agency to get too creative and make it very complicated so that the customer doesn't really get the message. But the ad campaign might end up winning a creativity awards. The campaign might end up winning creativity awards, but it is not effective and the customer has not got the message. So you have to be very careful with the positioning of the brand, the clarity of your brand, with the messaging that you send across to your target audience. The next one in building a good brand is to emotionally connect the brand. I mean, one brand that does it beautifully is Pears. One of my favorite brands that emotionally connects you to a mother, a baby with a mother, Pears. And the moment you see this picture, you know what it stands for, right? That connection, that love. We all like to see baby pictures. So you know what it is, right? And it's a strong brand. So emotionally connected. So it need not be even like a baby soap. You can even emotionally connect something that you can't think of. Like, for example, Energizer batteries has an Energizer bunny. It's just a battery, but they created a character, right? So like that, you can have so many aspects to emotionally connect the brand. Emotion, insurance companies, banks are very good examples. Sometimes they use senior citizens, children, so many kinds of things, a family situation to emotionally connect the brand. And that's very important, right? So there is another list of things that you can do, which we have discussed before, making the brand relevant to your target audience. Relevant, brand relevance. That means I must be able to relate to it. It must mean something to me. It must add value to me. That is relevance. The brand must add value to me. It must mean something to me, right? Relevance to the target audience. Emotional connection. Brands must be differentiated. How are you different? What are your points of differentiation? How are you different? This is a question you must always ask yourself. Now look at Pereira and Sons and look at Sponge. Pereira and Sons is the market leader. Good. 300-400 outlets franchised. But Sponge, which is in Colbert Junction, right? It has differentiated themselves. What are their points of differentiation? When you go to Sponge, you have someone to help you park. When you go in, there's an air-conditioned environment. There are comfortable chairs if you want to have coffee. You also don't need to pay immediately. You can eat all you want and pay at the end. Then they have some sauce or sauces, which are signature sauces that you can eat with whatever you want. Then there's a variety of cakes, high quality sweets, right? Wi-Fi if you need, nice music, good service. Good morning, good afternoon. They come to you. How can we help you? So you may not get all that in a Pereira and Sons. Pereira and Sons is a cost leader. Cost leader brand. Cargill's is a cost leader brand. Kiehl's is a differentiator. So cost leader sometimes is the market leader. Differentiation, you may not end up being the market leader, but you may be profitable. But differentiation is something that you consciously do. Now, Cargill's is not highly differentiated. Perrin and Sons is not, they're cost leaders. Walmart is a cost leader. Glowmark might be a differentiator. Satosa might be a cost leader. So there's nothing right or wrong. Both are right as long as you get the strategy right. So differentiation from a brand standpoint is to have strong points of differentiation, PODs, points of differentiation versus points of parity. You have to be innovative. We have discussed this. Brand innovation. We have discussed this before. And brand equity. How do you increase the value of the brand, the equity of the brand? So you need to study these factors. You can create a nice abbreviation, right? And study these because it can be tested. Characteristics of a strong brand. All right. And then we come into a discussion on brand management. As a brand manager, you need to focus on these areas. First of all, a brand needs to have a brand policy and guidelines. We can even call it a brand platform, a brand policy. Why do we need a brand policy? Now, can you understand? Let's say you are John Keels. Let's say you're John Keels. If you're John Keels Holdings, there are about 80 companies under you. 80 companies. So many, right? Large, diversified conglomerate. So if you don't have a brand policy, I remember when I was working at John Keels, this happened, right? Sometimes we, different brand managers of different companies, want to go and sponsor different things, right? So Central John Keels had a brand policy saying, here's what you can sponsor. Here's are the areas we're looking at, right? So once, I remember one company brand manager wanted to sponsor a bicycle race, right? Because it was relevant for a Kiel Super in that geography. Okay, so it came at a good price. So it's relevant to that people in that geography. So he wanted to sponsor the cycle race. But then that was not permitted. That was not permitted because it was not within the overall brand policy and the platform and the guidelines, right? So in managing a brand, you need to have a policy, a detailed policy guidelines, which usually is on the intranet so that everyone can see. And that policy will spell out what to do, what not to do, so that there's consistency. Brand managers, brand executives, everyone can join or leave the company, but the policy will remain. The policy guidelines will remain, right? Clear understanding of the positioning, target audience, competitive environment, and objectives. So a brand manager must have these important facets. Understanding the clear positioning. How is your product positioned in the mind of the customer? Who is my primary target audience and secondary target audience? Who are my primary customers and secondary target audience? Right? What is the competitive environment? You need to understand a little bit of the industry, competitors, what are their points of differentiation, what are they doing to build their brands, what are their brand stories, and then what are the goals and the objectives that you are going to set from a brand standpoint. It can be to be listed in the top 10 brand ranking in Sri Lanka because we have brand finance, interbrand that values brands in Sri Lanka. It can be to win brand related awards. It can be to have the highest points of differentiation. It can be to improve the brand image score. So there can be so many kinds of goals and objectives. And the final points are also critical. You need to continue to invest in your brand. Look at how Red Bull is managing. Red Bull, they say invest 20 to 30%. The case study tells us 20 to 30% of their revenue. That's 9.2 billion cans a year. 20 to 30% of their revenue is spent on building the brand. Otherwise, the brand will go down. And you need to make informed, data-driven decisions. The data must speak for itself. Usually, companies can undertake what we call mystery shopping exercises. It will undertake retail audits and consumer audits and retail audits, where you go to the retailers and collect data, where you go to the consumers and collect data. We call them consumer audits and retail audits. Mystery shopping, primary research, where you collect data. And it's a data-driven exercise. Brand management is a data-driven exercise. Okay. So in summary, once again, you need to understand what are the characteristics of a strong brand, and you need to understand brand management, some of the important factors as a brand manager that you need to be mindful of. All right. That's it for assessment criteria 3.3. I will see you in assessment criteria 3.4.